Hello, happy Sunday. I want to give you a training as part of the Sales Mastery Bootcamp that I'm creating. I thought I would jump on live and show you a sneak peek on the kind of training that I do inside of the online course. And this one is all about buying triggers, right? As a small business owner or entrepreneur, it's not just important that you offer a product or a service that adds value, all right? That's not enough, because you can have the best product or service in the world, but if no one knows about it, your chances of making money are pretty slim. All right. So the same thing goes with the way that you communicate the value of your product or your service to your prospect. And many times it can be that one of the biggest struggles for entrepreneurs that they face is actually closing the clients and building their business or teaching their team to build their business for them. Is that they don't really have nailed down and honed in how they describe their products and services in such a way that it's going to immediately trigger a buying decision by tapping into the psychology of buying. And there is a very specific psychology for buying. Pretty much all of buying decisions are emotional in nature, first and foremost. You may have heard, if you've done any sort of sales training before, that people buy on emotions and justify it by logic, right? They typically back their decisions up by logic. So no matter what people tell you about their reasons for buying, it's probably going to be emotional, all right? All the time, people buy things that, for example, they can't afford, right? Like that really expensive handbag. No idea why people buy those kind of expensive handbags, but and they don't spend money on things that they absolutely should. Like a gym membership that they should actually use. The only way to bring that home is to really understand the psychology of buying. If it's an emotional decision, and you have to understand the things that trigger a buying decision and build that into all of your communication, written, verbal, audio, anything that has to do, anything that you do when you're touching a prospect, you need to incorporate these buying triggers. If you want to tap into the real reasons why people buy and not just the need that you see in the market, because there's a difference between the reason why people buy and what they'll actually pull out their credit card, debit card for, and the things that they need or the problems that they have that you could be solving for them. So I hope that's making sense for everybody. Give me some love if you're not quite understanding this. So I want you to be thinking about these buying triggers. The other thing is that there are very certain and specific strategies that you can incorporate into your conversion event, whether that be a challenge, a launch that you do, an email campaign, a webinar, any type of promotion that you do. There are very specific strategies that you can build in each and every one of these strategies in order to have a pretty massive impact on the results that you're going to get. Okay. So be smart and be strategic when you're positioning and packaging your products and services so that you're tapping into the consciousness of what is going to actually, make people motivated to get what you're selling. So let's talk about buying triggers. The main triggers, I would love to know if anyone can guess, is of course, what are we all pursuing in this world? And that is happiness, right? The possibility of gain, fear of loss, looking better, feeling better, making money, saving money. Does this all sound very familiar to you? Lose weight? Oh my goodness. I know that as everyone is coming out of lockdown and finally here in the UK, gyms are open again. Losing weight, I'm sure a lot of people have that as a buying trigger right now, right? These are the things that in general people want. That's why if you look at the most popular kind of niches to be had, it's the biggest market. It's going to be around relationships, health and wellness, wealth building, entrepreneurship. These are the biggest and hottest, fastest growing industries for a reason. Because if you look at these buying triggers, a lot of them actually fall into the range that I've just mentioned before. So what you should do is whenever you're putting together a campaign or whether your team is putting together a promotion or a campaign, or writing a blog post or marketing or creating a podcast episode or going into a podcast interview or a webinar or whatever, make sure that you kind of always tap into these buying triggers and make it completely about the user experience. You want to make it completely about the person taking in that content from you. So, instead of saying I or we, you want to say you or your. Instead of talking about why you decided to create something, you want to talk about the need or the challenge that people were coming to you with and the way that you were able to solve a challenge for them and why it will be able to solve the challenge for that person consuming that content you're creating, right? That's currently seeing, reading, listening, whatever it is that they're consuming the content. How you're focused on that. So that's why you always hear me saying when I'm going on lives about how I'm taking in feedback from the community, right? And creating content out of it, because you want to convey the bottom line result that your product or service is going to deliver. And as you build your team, one of the number one roles and responsibilities that you have is as a business owner is if you want to scale your business and you want to remove yourself as the bottleneck, you want to be a true CEO versus a really good employee, is you have to develop the leadership skills and the training mechanisms and the systems to teach others how to rapidly convey the bottom line end result that your product or service does for people. Okay, so I want to end there, and I want to make sure that you understand that there are certain buying triggers that you have to really touched on when you are trying to sell a product or service, and to convey the solution in a more direct manner that it speaks to that emotion that you've conveyed through a buying trigger, and then crafted and positioned your product or service as providing that transformation and that solution that the prospect wants from you. I hope this makes sense. And this is a quick training on buying triggers. See you on the next one. Bye for now.